What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 38 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Good day.
Good to be here with you today.
And then once again, we got my boy, Alfredo Diaz.
Hi.
A.K.A. Alfredo Plays. A.K.A. Oh, man. See, here's the thing. I wanted to give him another A.K.A. and then it
King of Twitch.
immediately went racist. It immediately went racist in my head. And I was like, shit, I need to stop. I was going to call him the nasty Puerto Rican. I don't know why.
You did. You just called him that anyway.
Yeah, it just happened.
But you guys are best friends. So you're allowed to say that.
We're allowed to do whatever we want. So we have you here for a lot of different reasons, specifically that there's
sex
some
appeal.
games that I want you to talk about.
Muscles.
And we've been getting a lot of comments saying that our sex appeal wasn't high enough. I'm sorry, Colin. You've been gone.
Yeah, well, now
That's been
Sean's
the
been
issue.
gone.
Yeah.
You guys have been conning.
Now there's too much sex appeal.
Yeah, so we're trying to balance it out and stuff. So that's going to be fun.
Glad
This
to be
episode, as always at this point, brought to you by Volume. From the creator of Thomas Was Alone, Mike Bithell. Good dude. You should go check out his game. It's on the PS4. You might have seen it recently in a teaser trailer for a new show we're doing called P.S. I Love You.
That's right.
This is cross synergy.
We did. We
here.
use it right there because we
Yeah.
love Mike so much.
And Greg was playing that on his PS4.
One day it'll
That's
be
a
on my
little
PS
Easter
Vita.
egg.
It's also on your PC.
I'm waiting.
Andy
Patiently
Serkis,
waiting.
Andy Serkis is in it, along
Yep.
with some other guy that I don't know.
The other dude that I don't
Nobody
have
understands who that
anymore.
other guy is, but
Yeah.
Mike Bithell put his name in there like we're supposed to know it. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh, shoot.
But it's there. It's
Joe
live. You can
Schultz
go-
is in
you can
this
go buy
one.
it now.
I love Joe Schultz, dude.
So that's
Love
going
that
on.
guy.
And so moving on from that, P.S. I Love You. New
Right.
show we announced. This
So-
is really exciting.
It's fun. It's exciting because you announced this is the last ever episode 38. It's also the last ever Gamescast. Because we'll never have to do it again.
So that's
P.S.
why
I Love You has come to
No,
take over
That's
it
something that we need to address. There's so many people that are like, oh, so now they're just talking about PlayStation. They're not going to do Gamescast. No, we're going to do Gamescast.
Gamescast is not going anywhere. Everybody's
Definitely
calm down.
Definitely not stopping. P.S. I Love You is going to be very different than this show.
Yeah.
People are really
Guaranteed.
worried. People are really worried about like crossover and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, sometimes we're gonna talk about similar things. But P.S. I Love You is going to be a deep dive into the minds of the coolest dudes in video games, and it's just them. So don't worry, guys. I won't be a part of it. I won't muck any of that shit up.
I'm a little
You'll
confused.
be in once in a while.
Every once in a while.
The response of some people has been a little confounding to me, and I thought of a great analogy about some people's responses and how it confuses me. Because a lot of people are like, they're putting out too much content, and there's going to be too much crossover, and how do I listen to all of it and stuff like that? And I'm like, well, there's going to be crossover. There's definitely going to be crossover. There's crossover between Colin and Greg live. There's going to be crossover to that, and P.S. I Love You, there's going to be crossover with Gamescast. It's not going to be crazy, but there's going to be crossover. And I was thinking, like, isn't it good that you have more choice? Like, no one goes around and is like, NBC makes too many shows, and I can't watch them all. It's like, just pick the NBC shows you want to watch.
Yeah.
And then an even better example would be like MSNBC or Fox News, where 5 or 6 different shows talk about the same news items. So you could watch it all. Some people do. You could watch 1 or 2 shows. So fear not, because there certainly will be some crossover with some bigger games like Uncharted or Fallout or something like that. But much like when we did Podcast Beyond, and like Tim alluded to, it's going to be a far deeper, deeper show. Like Greg said yesterday on Colin and Greg Live, this show is more about bigger ideas. There's nothing big. There's no big ideas in P.S. I Love You. We haven't even done it yet. I'm telling you right now.
But what's interesting about this is there's so many people that are like, oh man, like I've seen this comment over and over. They're like, oh, they left IGN to not be pigeonholed into this thing and to do whatever they want. It's like, guys, you're missing the point. Like, this is what we want to do, And the reason that we didn't do P.S. I Love You or an equivalent, a PlayStation podcast from the get-go is the fact that we did want to have it so that we weren't just a PlayStation thing. We are all this stuff, but you guys are the PlayStation guys.
Right, it
and I
speaks to
think
who
we've
we
done
are.
38 episodes of Gamescast. So now this is the thing. It's a different thing, and we talk about all games. So you guys are going to go back to P.S. I Love You, have that be the deep dive thing that people want. Understand that you're going to talk about PlayStation for an hour. Colin's going to talk about games that no one's ever even fucking heard of, and then you're going to hear of them, and then you're going to love them, and then it's going to be great, and everyone's going to be playing on their Vitas, and it's going to be a beautiful goddamn thing.
Exactly.
What's that mean for this show? Not much. Things are just going to keep going for better or worse. Having said that, I want to make the show better. So, like, there's Lindsay, I love you. Can you please make a thread, one of those pretty threads that you make on the Kind of Funny forums about how to improve Gamescast, like what people want from it. The key things that I want you guys to know is that this show cannot be topical because of the way that it's released with the Patreon and the breakouts and all that stuff. That stuff needs to stay the same. But what about the content would you like to see changed? The one thing that I want to start doing is having more guests, like Alfredo, come on to kind of like give a little bit different perspective that we don't see on Colin and Greg Live or P.S. I Love You, so that there is a little bit more there's less crossover. And
Something
all that
fresh,
stuff.
not the
New
same idea
opinions,
you've heard over
new
and over
stuff,
again.
and all of that. But overall, like I like the format of the show, and I like the things we talk about. And it's more about gaming lifestyle and just gaming, like being a gamer, less gaming news. And that's another thing. Is I think people forever have always seen Gamescast as Beyond 2, and it's like. I hope that now that PS I Love You is a thing, they're going to start to realize, oh no, it's a Game Over Greggy show for video games. Like that's what this is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about the news. It's not about our reactions to stuff. Anyways, please let us know what you want us to do, because we want to make this better. We want to make all this stuff better. And check out PS I Love You every Tuesday.
And for the record, thank you. The response was overwhelmingly positive to PS I Love You. What we're talking about in terms of like people being upset about something or whatever, they were the minuscule comments. Those were the minimum ones. And 99% were like, I can't believe this is happening. It's the best news to wake up to. I'm going to blow my mom's face off. And I was like, whoa! Whoa! No reason to do that.
I think to Greg's point, and that's what I was going to say, was that the response, I expected a positive response. People have been asking us to do a PlayStation podcast since we left, and people miss the show that we used to do, and we're going to do that show. So, that was very heartening. It was, as I said at dinner yesterday, even more overwhelmingly positive than I thought it was going to be. It picked up. It was in lots of different places. I mean, there are huge Reddit threads about it. Overwhelmingly positive response on GAF. People want us to do that show, and I'm happy to do it. My only point was that more like I'm always confused and confounded by like I want to give you more choice, and that gives you more options, and then you like. I'm honored that people feel like they need to watch everything we do, but you don't. Just like pick and choose. If you want to, that's great, but like just pick and choose the things that you want. If you feel like there's overlap between Colin and Greg and this and that and the other thing, then just kind of whittle it down. I think more choice is better. The other thing I want to speak to is people were asking if we're going to do Xbox and Nintendo stuff, and frankly, that's my own personal intention in the future. Should this company grow and scale, is I'd love to have people that can speak to those things, but we can't.
I mean, that's the thing is like I've seen so many comments that are like, oh, so like why don't you guys give Alfredo a Xbox podcast? Tim, why don't you do a Nintendo podcast? I don't think we have the people. Like, it's not just one person can't do a podcast. You know what I mean?
Alfredo would do the Destiny podcast.
And he'd kill it. He'd
him and Jackie Butler.
One day I'll break away from that game, damn it.
That's actually a really good segue. That is the topic.
We call them Gregways.
Yeah, that was good. You're good at them.
I know.
Yeah, they call it that for a reason. We're talking about Destiny the Taken King. I want to know. You came about a year ago. You talked about your Destiny and why people need to get back into playing it. I feel like now there's the resurgence of Destiny.
Now I don't look like a crazy person putting so many hours into that fucking game.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But no, this is what Destiny should have been.
So here's what I need you to do: is that I enjoyed Destiny when it first came out, but then I fell behind and never could get back on the horse. Everyone tells me in the chat on Twitch, everyone emails into this show saying, this is the one I need to try to get back into. This gets it bumps you up to whatever level you need. What is happening? I don't understand. I understand the story part of it. We killed this dude's son. He's coming back or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand what I'm doing in terms of gameplay that is making it better than what it was.
Well, it's not as repetitive. Like Destiny Vanilla was just overly repetitive. And then on top of that, the progression was way too slow. You had to do a million things. You didn't really get rewarded for anything that you did. And like I said, the biggest thing, overly freaking repetitive. And there's no story. There was just no story at all. There's nothing. Now there's this huge grand story, like epic cutscenes. You can actually, there's like little things that they've been changing throughout the year, but the UI is better. Like the way the game functions is better in terms of managing multiple characters and inventory. And then on top of that, it's just you put in the time, you get rewarded. Like I've been putting, I don't know, 80 hours. I don't even want to say that, but like I put in an insane amount of hours into this game.
How long has it been out?
Since The Taken King has been released, and it's
80 hours in
about a week.
Okay,
something like that. Probably even more.
I think it's been less than a week, right? Since Taken King came out?
Tuesday. It came out on Tuesday last week, I think. Yeah, then the raid came out last Friday.
Okay, sorry. I thought so the raid came out after the game came out.
Yeah, so yeah, that was the thing. So they're like, The Taken King is released September 15th. The raid's 3 days later. I didn't sleep for those 3 days. I had to do the raid race. We'll get into that in a second. But like, no, I mean, you get the game, right? You can get like the Legendary Edition, which gets you the previous 2 expansions. They're all right. And then the game as well, plus like the Taken King expansions, and you get to instantly boost your character up to level 25. The cap right now is 40. So a lot of people are just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm so far behind. Actually, no, you get boosted up really, really quickly. there's lots of variety in terms of gameplay now. There's different mechanics that they've introduced into the game, so things don't seem as repetitive anymore. And then if you're coming into the game like later, that just means you have so much more to do. Not to mention, like with the expansion itself, if you're like an existing Destiny character player, there's just so many fucking things to do. Like you can go on for a while.
So have you been playing Destiny vanilla consistently?
I've been playing
over
since alpha, beta, stuff like that.
Well, so I know you've been playing for a long time, but like,
Yeah.
have you consistently been playing it like every day?
What, Destiny?
Yeah.
I took like a 2-month break and played like H1Z1. That was fun. But no, yeah, for the most part, I've been playing way too much Destiny. And it's just, I don't know. It's just overall, like, it's the game that it should have been. Before, the only thing that kept me around was at its core, Destiny Vanilla had really good gameplay, but everything else was terrible. But now it's just, they have things like skippable cutscenes. I know that sounds like crazy, but as like a Destiny player and having to go through and play like the daily or something like that, which you have to play like the same story, the same mission, and watch a cutscene over again. Like just little tweaks like that they've made throughout the year that's made the game much better. And then the expansion comes out. There's an actual story. There's a lot of things to do. There's variety. You get rewarded for all the hard work you do. It's really good. I think they're finally nailing it.
I mean, this sounds like every time I talk to someone that plays Destiny a lot, it really sounds like it's a chore and it's something they're forcing themselves to do and they don't like it. And now they're like, all right, now it's worth it.
Everyone's
Now it's
liberated
worth-
now.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, yeah, it's so much
So,
fun.
Talking to you, talking to Sean Finnegan, talking to all these people that it's funny because you're different. Like you play these games, specifically first person games. You get addicted to them and you don't stop. Like you play more than like anyone I know. Then there's guys like Sean that like they play games, but like they're not addicted to this shit, you know? Like he's addicted to Counter-Strike. But
Yeah.
besides that, like he doesn't pick these games up and stick with them. And when he started playing Destiny, or like Fran, when he started playing Destiny, it's like, all right, let's see how long this lasts. And it's like, oh shit, they're still playing. Like
No, that's the thing we've seen over time and time again with like Brennan and like Craig and all these people
yeah.
like that, like games, but don't fall down the rabbit hole like Colin and I do on certain things. And these people have all gotten sucked into Destiny.
Well, I mean, you have an FPS like game, right? And then on top of that, you add like an MMO type architecture to it, and then it's like I'm an FPS player. You add a loot system to that. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to do with myself. But the thing about like Destiny over Destiny Year One was just it was way too hard to be rewarded for all the work you did. And so that's why a lot of people
Because there was like
dropped
randomized
off.
drops. Like
Yeah.
to explain to somebody who hasn't been paying attention, I remember it was randomized drops, right? So you could play. You were playing so much, doing so many
Yeah.
things, doing raids over and over, and you weren't getting a legendary or exotic or whatever.
Yeah.
But then Panda Musk would jump in and do it, and people were always chasing that stupid hammer, Galahorn or whatever, right? Like they were looking for that thing forever. And
No, well, yeah. I mean, like way early into Destiny, you'd play hours and hours just to get a legendary drop, and then like you like an engram, then you decrypt it and be for another class, and you'd be like, well, why'd I just after 500 engrams I finally get one? It's not even for the class that I have,
Right.
And so like that's how like difficult the system was, and then just over time they've made it easier and easier. But now with like the Taken King, they've changed the level system, and they just made it to a point where it's like you get progression. Like you go in, like you say, like if your gear is a certain level, right, and you're doing stuff, and you get like an engram for arms or something like that, more than likely that gear will be higher than what you have. And so it's a reward system. Like you put in more time, you get more effort, and like you just progress.
So then my question is coming in, like I'm already past 25. I think I left off at 26 or 27,
Yeah.
somewhere in there or whatever. If I jump in, first off, am I going to be just outclassed and have no idea what's going on by the other players? Like, is the community going to be accepting of me coming back in?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
The thing is too, like Jackie being my girlfriend, I just got her into Destiny like 3 weeks ago, and we both started a new character. Well, she started a new character, then we both did the whole like start at level 25
Yeah.
thing that they're doing. So instantly level up a character to 25, and we from there leveled up a character, and it only took us like 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, which is something like in Destiny was not a thing
Not a
before,
possibility.
right? Like the best part of Destiny, like year one or like when it first came out, was the raid, Vault of Glass specifically. But no one can get to level 26, and it took forever. It was so much of a grind. Then
Yep.
from there, it was just how good your luck is in terms of like the gear and stuff you get.
So wait, you couldn't access the raid until you were level 26?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a huge bitch to get to level 26.
Yeah.
You had to get the light and all
Yeah,
that
you'd
crap.
level
So
up
the
to-
raid.
What am I
So
doing?
okay, explain what the raid is. Is the raid like the fun part of the game?
The raid is
Back
the
then
best.
it was. Or is it still?
It's still the
Okay.
best part of Destiny. You take 6 people, right, friends, until you go through the raid. Then it tears you apart, your friendship apart. But you have 6 people, and you go there and you play as a group, and each part is a puzzle, and you find out like how to get past that puzzle, how to progress, and there's different mechanics throughout the whole entire raid. And raids, especially the one that just came out, it took me 13 hours to beat. And so, but you get better and better because
Was that in one
you get
sitting?
better.
One sitting?
Yeah, one sitting. It was a race. So every time Destiny releases a new raid, it's a big thing, like where it's a race to finish first.
Were you first?
No.
Have you ever been first?
We've been top 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Consistently top 10, which is
Congratulations.
nice. Yeah. But it's just the raid is 6 people go in, you fight them, you learn the mechanics, you go through the puzzles. There's like jumping puzzles and different things like that. Then there's bosses. You figure out how to beat those bosses. You work as a team to beat those bosses, and then you progress. You get there's loot drops throughout the whole thing. There's different little like puzzles and secrets and stuff like that. It's really fun.
So then after you play the raid the first time, and after you do that crazy the race, and then you spend 13 hours playing and stuff, do you just keep repeating that raid over and over?
So
Weekly.
Yeah, so you can do it once a week per character, and it resets every Tuesday. But the thing is, like, you do it over and over, but it's fun because you get better gear. You go back, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have better gear. You can take down enemies faster.
So
and then
what's that 13 hours turn into?
We did 13 hours for the first run. Second run was 4.
Okay.
Right, and teams are beating it now in like 50 minutes. So those are like people who are actually like really speedrunning through the whole thing. But you go through every time because like you want that raid gear, right? You want that raid piece of loot or whatever, and to keep it going.
It's the loot treadmill.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're describing now is that traditional
Yeah.
MMO setup.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I remember fucking DC Universe Online reset day where we'd all be there.
Yeah,
Oh,
you'd all be
here
there
we
just
go. Back
waiting.
in. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
using reset tokens.
Yeah.
And finally microtransaction to that.
Yeah, but they changed the level system. So the thing too is it's like you have a specific piece of gear and that has a certain amount of light to it, and then the more light you have for that gear that levels you up. But the interesting thing is like I can go into the raid and I can get a specific, let's say I get an arm piece, right, and it's 303 light. Well, the raid gear, it varies, right? That arm gear can be literally from 300 light to 310 light. So I can go in and maybe get like a better arm piece, right, with higher light. Or I can get like, the arm pieces have different perks on them. So maybe I have one that has a better perk that I like. You know what I mean? So there is a certain like variety in terms of gear as opposed to before, like they had the gear had the same perks, and it doesn't matter what level they are, just level up the gear and you get that level from that gear. But now it's like the specific piece of gear has a certain frame of terms of like how much you can level up, right? And so there's just more variety, it's more of a rewarding system. And then on top of that, like they've made certain things in the game less repetitive in a sense.
That's
and
good.
then going back to leveling up your character, it took us 8 hours to get to level 40. And then from there we were playing the different we played Court of Orcs, which was like this big public event thing. We did strikes, and we were just getting rewarded all the time, and we just kept leveling.
See, that's the thing is that eventually tapered off for me, right? Is that I'm playing Taylor Swift's there. I want this new thing, but I know how hard it is to get it from the dude. What's this? I can't never say his name.
Cryptarch?
No, not Cryptarch. The guy who walks around selling stuff.
Zer.
Thank you very much. I was going up to him like, all right, I need this, and then I'd go out and try to get what I need, and I'm trying to do bounties, and I'm trying to do this, and it was totally just pushing that boulder up the hill, just to find. All right, finally, I got the last thing I needed for that bounty, and then you trade it, and you get like nothing for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, God, I don't have enough time to dedicate to this game to come back night after night after night after night to make it where I'm getting what I want out of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's the type of thing where like the currency for that, they made it easy. Like you gain the currency that which you buy the material items from him is called strange coins. It made that easier to get just by playing the game.
Okay. Interesting. Here, my question then, because you're making me want to go back and play it. You're the only one who sat down and explained this and made me actually want to go back and try it again. So congratulations. How overwhelming will it all be when I jump back in? Do I still start on what's the thing we always started on? Not the Citadel. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the tower.
Yeah, the tower.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I start there, and then is it just, hey, there's a fucking 30,000 things to do, and
You'll have a
this
lot
is the
of-
good stuff. This is the Taken King good stuff, and this is the old stuff that kind of sucked.
Well, I mean, it's really easy to separate all the expansions, right? They'll have a headline that says like exactly what the mission's from. I mean, you can go in and then just start with the Taken King stuff. To be honest, like that stuff, like doing those missions, will boost you up to 40, you'll actually have a story to go through, a story you understand and care about.
I understood before, like, there was one planet left, and these guys were mad or something. I think
it was bad.
There's some worm. Was there a worm?
There's something happening somewhere in space. No, I mean you're 25. You go in, right, do all the Taken King missions. Then after that, you'll have just a bunch of extra side missions to do, and there would be some.
Can I play through the Taken King the story alone?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and you'll get rewarded for stuff.
Okay.
You'll get rewarded for that progression, right? You'll level up to 40. Then after that, by that point you'll have gear that you don't have to buy or grind for. You'll have engrams that you uncrypt, and they're like, oh, get to level 40 to wear these engrams. Then you put those on, and then you start doing side quests and stuff. You get more engrams, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is more light than what I already have.
That sounds good.
Now my light level's growing up too, and it's just like, well, now
we're in business.
Now we're in business.
So can you bring your character from the other one into this one, or do you have to restart as a new 25?
No, you don't.
No, it'll buff you up to 25 if you weren't 25 before.
But if you were above 25, you're above 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have your character specifically. Like it's more for the people who want to jump into Destiny right now.
But how come like last week then when we were all talking about prepping for the raid or whatever? Like what did that even mean? Like prepping for the raid?
So there's a couple ways in terms of like how good your character is and to gauge how strong and powerful your character is. One, you get to level 40. Once you get to level 40, you can start putting on higher level gear. All that gear, like your armor, your weapons, stuff like that, there's a number called light level that is the average attack and defense of all things you have on you. So when we first started Destiny, we were like 200 light, right? And then it was rumored that the raid was 290 light. So I was like, okay, we have 3 days we want to be world's first, right? We want to go in, beat the raid first before anyone else. So for 3 days, we're like, let's get through all the stories, the missions, to get to 290 light. Then once we get to 290, 290 is the lowest, 310's max, et cetera, et cetera. So I got to 297 before the raid. So I was like 7 levels above what it should be. So it was the grind to 290. Then it was from there. If I can get extra light level, cool, so I can do more damage. But it's like, what weapons do I need to get? Like, there's new weapons now. There's stronger weapons now. What weapons do I buy? What weapons am I just randomly getting from drops? And there was a shit ton of weapons from drops. It was a lot of prepping. 6 people had to do that too. So we spent, I don't know, I slept maybe 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Video games.
But it was fun.
Good Lord, video games.
Colin.
I was just gonna say, I just love the arc of. I don't care about Destiny at all, but like I played it for 10 hours or so, and I was just like, whatever, it's not a game for me. But watching the arc of the game from when we leaked it when we were still at IGN, all the way to now is really funny because I can't think of another game except for maybe WoW that has a similar arc in that it came out or it was announced, people were interested in it. I felt like the beta specifically came out because no one was talking about it anymore.
Yep.
Activision put a shit ton of money into this game. People have to understand, AAA game might cost $20, $30, $40 million, $50 million. You can get up to $80 million, $100 million if you're talking about something like maybe Batman or Uncharted or something like that. If you're talking about something like Grand Theft Auto, maybe a couple or a few $100 million ultimately into everything. They spent $500 million on this game. And that includes the heavy marketing costs, not only the development and Bungie's money and cut and all that. But it's just like they invested all this money, and Activision, to me, looked a little stupid, actually. Like, when all this stuff was coming together, I'm like, you guys put a lot of money into this, and it seems like no one cares about this game. And I was the stupid one, because it was like, the game came out, you don't see games with arcs like this at all. Like, you just don't see it. Titanfall comes out, everyone's really, really excited, comes out, Evolve comes out, really, really excited, and with this, everyone's like, it comes out, everyone's like, like they're playing, I'm playing it like we were alluding to before. I'm playing, I don't really like it. I don't know why I'm playing it. We've all been there. There's different games like
definitely.
that. And then it's like everyone, and there's plateaus, and then it spikes, and then it plateaus, and then it spikes, and then it plateaus, and it's happening for a year.
Yep.
And then the Taken King comes out, and it gives Bungie enough time to, maybe Bungie needed more time. Maybe Bungie shouldn't have released the game or it's not really up to them. It's up to Activision. But maybe they needed more time to get the game where it needed to be. And this seems to be where the game needs to be. And now Activision and Bungie look shrewd as fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here wondering if other studios can replicate this, because there's a huge problem with these kinds of games, and why I'm confused why people are investing in these kinds of games. And by people, I mean publishers. A game like Evolve was clearly not going to do well. Because it's a platform, right? Like these games are investments. It's like Rainbow Six or The Division are going to be similar games. These games are investments. They're not games you play for 10 or 20 hours. They're games you play for hundreds of hours, and they have to be really, really good. And there's a special sauce inside of Destiny that I still don't understand and never will, that has attracted tens of millions of people to play it and keep playing it and spike it and spike it and spike it. And you see, and the only corollary I can think of is with WoW.
Cocaine.
It's cocaine.
Yeah.
Like when World of Warcraft was announced, it wasn't Warcraft. And people were like, what the hell is this? Like, and it came out and people got addicted to it. And then the subscriber numbers went up and went up. And then now they're falling, but then they reach a new expansion. It comes back. It's weird. It's weird. I'm just as kind of like just an admirer of the industry and someone that just studies the industry. I just can't think of any game like this because they spent so much fucking money on it and it looked like such a blunder. But it seems like they knew that like a AAA game like Uncharted might cost $100 million to make and market, but this game costs 5 times more than that.
Yeah.
And they're making their money back.
It speaks to their vision, right? It's the talent of Bungie to make a shooter everybody's going to want to play and a game everybody's going to want to play, but like mainly for that first year, right? The shooter mechanics are what stands out to everybody talks about. And then, Activision's marketing plan for it, right? And the way of when they did leak, it's got this 5-year plan and there's this much money, everybody's like, that is stupid. You know what I mean? And then, it came out and so many people would have changed their course, you know what I mean, panicked, and they didn't panic. They just kept trudging along.
And what's cool about that for them, and they totally succeeded in this, is they've been in headlines the last year. You know, what other game has been in headlines post-release for a year? None. That's just not how things work.
Yeah.
You know, and like all the major websites, GameSpot, IGN, all that stuff. A week does not go by that there's not some news or something that people are talking about.
Because that fan base is there, right? And even when they take 2 months off, they're still ravenous for news and what's going to happen and what the next thing is going to be. You know what
it's
I mean?
a break. Like,
exactly.
It's not so much like I'm done.
Right. That's what and even me, like such a casual Destiny player, has always said, like, I'd love to get back into it someday. You know, maybe that day's now. This sounds awesome. You know what I mean? And, like, that's the thing. I'm still listening. I'm still wanting to get back into it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of people are just like, why do you still play this game? I was like, at its core, it's a good it's a good gameplay. Like it plays well as a shooter, and then it's just like I'd spend hundreds of hours on Call of Duty, Halo, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like I just spend hundreds of hours playing Destiny PvP. Occasionally, I break off and do other stuff, and there's loot to my FPS shooters. So that's what kind of kept me around. And and then now it's just actually good. It's actually a good game.
They're making the right move. It's funny. Activision's smart enough that they're experimenting with 2 different brands in 2 different ways. Call of Duty will continue to come out yearly, but I actually think we're not too far away from Call of Duty being a platform like Destiny 2. And I think that this was a step forward for them to be like, well, Destiny's never had an expectation of a yearly release or a bi-yearly release, so we're going to, since it's a new IP, we can experiment and then we can learn from this about what we can do with other brands. Because I think that what Activision is going to learn from this game in terms of all the studios that are working on Call of Duty is they don't need to do all of this stuff with Call of Duty. They need to make a Call of Duty platform that's as good and plays as well as Destiny, which I think they do. I think I love playing Call of Duty every year. I never, as people know, I never play it online. I play the campaign because I just think that it's just a rock solid shooter. Rock solid. And I felt the same way about Destiny when I played it, even though it comes from a different developer. That the game played well. I was just like, I don't really want to play this. This is not fun. And
you hate other people,
right? And it's a game I played it by myself, but it's a game that's not meant to be played by yourself.
Yeah.
Like when I play The Division by myself, which I will, that's going to be an eerie game, and I think it'll work well by yourself, and I was glad when they confirmed that you could just do all of it by yourself, which is great.
So jump in and just, you know what I mean, hijack his stuff, Greg. We could have put it together.
I mean,
don't worry, we will. Colin's gonna play 3 hours of that game. We'll get in there and shoot him in the head immediately.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't think you're gonna be able to isolate yourself from other players in the game. I just think you can play it by yourself. So it's gonna be similar to some other shooters out there. But I just think that there's a lot to learn about. When the Marty O'Donnell lawsuit went through, a lot of documentation came out about how they were originally intending on making a Destiny 2 quickly, and I'm not sure exactly like how quickly they were going to do it. There was all this paperwork. I didn't read the whole story. I think it was on Kotaku or something like that, where there was just a lot of interesting information about that. And it seems like they're maybe pulling back and saying like, well, Destiny can just exist forever. And this was back during the embryonic state of the game. They clearly had this plan before the game came out to kind of support it for a while. But I think that you are going to see this style segue to other games because I think what Microsoft learned and EA learned with Titanfall and what they learned with Evolve and all these other games is that you have to have something really special to grab people for a long period of time, or these games are not worth playing. And I think part of that and why the Taken King is probably successful is because it has a lot of single player and story component to it where you can play it by yourself, whereas these other games you really like. Titanfall's biggest blunder was not having a single player component. It's also, I think, going to be Battlefront's biggest blunder. Even though Battlefront's going to do well, I'm super interested to see if Battlefront's a game that's played for more than 2 years.
Yeah, how well is it doing in 3 months?
Yeah, exactly. Like 3 months. Yeah, like that's an interesting thing too. Like you have to have a hook that I think Destiny and Bungie understood because Bungie's heritage is both single and multiplayer. So it's just been fun as someone who just enjoys the industry to watch it because I've never seen anything like this before with such a heavy investment that seemed like blunderous. But Activision's shrewd as fuck, man. I'm telling you, they know they know what they're doing, and I think there's gonna be a lot of bleed over with Call of Duty because of the style of Destiny. I would love to see a Call of Duty platform that just exists and you pay $10 every few months for maps or something like that, as opposed to buying this new $60 game.
Yeah.